Hello, everyone. I warmly welcome you to the second demo day of the RootCamp. My name is Philipp Rittershaus. I'm the Managing Director of the RootCamp. We are streaming live from the center of Hanover here and hope to bring you a very interesting program today. So actually, what is the demo day about? The RootCamp hosts an acceleration program for early stage startups. From 300 applications, we selected the best and most suitable 7 startups. We had 12 very intense weeks here that would more than 100 hours of coaching. We had dozens of workshops, one-on-ones, and a full week of pitch training. That was hard work, and so today is the day, the big final of our acceleration program, and the startups will pitch themselves and their innovation, their innovative products. So the agenda today sees for that after I've introduced the RootCamp and the team and our partners, we will hand over to Gaia. She will be hosting the first pitch session, digitalization. After that, we go into a thematic topic. We have a panel. Caspar is hosting that. It goes on actually where the impact comes from, the impact to drive the revolution of the agriculture value chain. Is it more biotech or is it more coming from the agtech side? Then we have a short break, or you have, if you wish, a quick networking, a speed dating session of 10-15 minutes. Afterwards, we continue with the pitching of the startups. We focus then on bioeconomy, using renewable resources, using bio-based materials. And after the next session, the next panel, where we look a little bit deeper into how we actually interact with the startups, how the startups can catalyze or can be catalyzed within their collaboration with our industry partners. Then we finalize our pitch sessions with the third part, robotics and sensors will be then conclude the program. After that, you're happily invited to interact with us here, still on the main stage, or we have sessions where all the startup founders will be available to you and your questions. Now, I'd like to introduce you a little bit deeper into the RootCamp and what actually RootCamp is doing and where we come from. As you can see here, yes, we are looking for the agriculture value chain. We consider ourselves a multi-corporate innovation hub for agri-food tech and bioeconomy. What are we actually offering? What are our programs? We, one and for all, offer inspiration. This is here the focus of our today's event. The acceleration batch, the acceleration program is considered to collect information, to source early stage startups. We offer a high intense program over 12 weeks, the acceleration, and even within this acceleration period, we build on the concept of cooperation, on how the startup can cooperate with our industrial partners, namely KPMG. In the second phase, we focus then on these pilot projects. They are actively conducted, and we even provide a project budget for that. But we also look for more established products, for more later stage companies. So we actively source new technologies, new products, depending on the challenges and the questions of the industry partners, or we take the inbound we collect and go over to validate the products and to figure out if they can actually be added to the product portfolio of our partners. And as a more looking on the internal sources of innovation, we also have a program for innovative thinking of employees. The entrepreneurship program triggers ideas of employees, but also takes ideas and helps the entrepreneurs to bring them towards a pilot phase or towards building the product or the MVP. Overall, our goal is always to source the right information so we can enable the strategic decisions of our partners and surely also of the startups. But how did it start? 2 years ago, K+S and SpinLab actually had a contract. They wanted to start over together and build the RootCamp as an exchange place for innovation and driving innovation. And as you can see, we started pretty rough. Here, it was just an industrial storage facility. And over the time, we changed that into a workshop place and a co-working area, as you can see here on the pictures. 1 year ago, we had the first batch finalized. That was the last session. So we had also 12 weeks with 5 startups. And now we were very lucky in the beginning of November. We had 1 presence week here and had 7 startups, 1 week here in Hanover. All the partners were also there and some of the mentors. And so we had a great interaction as start of the actual acceleration program. So that was very, very helpful to also get the connection between the startups. Our topics you can see here, we look at everything that's within the agriculture value chain, the upstream part of the agriculture value chain. Also closely depending on the topics of our partners. So we're looking to everything from ag biotechnology, also from biomaterials, so bioeconomy, to the agtech like robotics, and even to novel farming or fintech in the field of agriculture. But now, what is driving K+S, or what is driving RootCamp? K+S is the cornerstone of our partnerships. They were the triggering part and the founding partner to establish actually the RootCamp. That was still 1 year ago. In the last year, we could collect more and more partners. We are very happy to have also KWS on board. We are very eager to announce 1 more partnership, also in the field of fertilizer. And we also have partners looking more into the broaden of our ecosystem. Agritechnica is hosted again 2023 here in Hanover. So there we try to connect very closely. hannoverimpuls, the local economy support agency, is very, very helpful for us. And KPMG is supporting this actual batch as well, not only financially, but also with mentorship. But very important are also the persons behind that. K+S is RootCamp is supported at K+S by Ralf Blessing. He will have a short introduction just in a little bit. KWS is presented also by Alexander Wiegelmann with a short video in a little bit. We are very happy that Freya is our counterpart at Agritechnica, Mario is the counterpart at hannoverimpuls, and Dimitri at KPMG. So now I would like to hand over to Ralf, and after that directly to Alexander to enable that they can introduce themselves.
Our demo day here at RootCamp. It's a pleasure to have you all here with us today to see some promising startup teams with some great ideas. So my name is Ralf Blessing. I am member of the innovation team and head of RootCamp at K+S. So for K+S, the opportunity to have access to an international innovation ecosystem and to further develop future-oriented approaches with startups is very important. This is why we became a founding partner of RootCamp in 2020. So RootCamp is our platform for identifying innovative concepts and business models and jointly bringing them to the market. The program combines the strengths of K+S as an internationally operating company with the flexibility and creativity and speed of startups. Together, we want to promote and quickly implement new concepts in a structured process. So in our batch number 2, we had a great variety of different startups reflecting the whole range of the global agtech sector. From our perspective, we have selected the best startups to pitch for you today. I hope you will enjoy the pitches, and I am looking forward to an exchange with you later on. So thank you very much and see you later.
Dear entrepreneurs, it's a pleasure to talk to you. My name is Alexander Wiegelmann and I work for KWS, the world's 5th largest seed company. I'm heading the new business ventures department. So KWS is a partner of the RootCamp because we believe that the work of Philipp, Gaia and the team is of strategic value to us. We are very delighted with the batch that the team has selected because it shows that they have understood the agricultural trends as well as future business models. And KWS is already in talks with a few of you with regard to proof of concepts or various modes of collaboration. So for this demo day, I wish you all the best and a great party thereafter. Thank you.
So many thanks to Ralf and Alexander, but that wouldn't also run without a great team. I'm definitely not doing it all by myself. This whole program is conducted under the management of Gaia. She's also doing our marketing and organization of this event. We have Caspar, a startup coach. He will host the first panel. Engelke is at the reception right now. She's supporting the integration project, the pilot projects, the scientific communication, and Gaia as a working student and an active insect farmer. She is taking care of all the startups and looking at the strategic focus of our partners and handing over the right startups. We are also looking to new hires. 2 more employees will start by March, so stay tuned on that part. But what have we reached out so far? What have we accomplished? We have built a startup database of 3,000 hand-picked agtech startups. We collected so far 600 applications in all of our batches, and in the first and second batch, we accelerated 12 startups. But we like to dig deep. So this is an example on our webinar series. We were very happy to conduct together with the Agritechnica and DLG and stream it on the DLG Connect platform. And there we had 250 attendees. If you weren't participating, no problem. So we have it all in our blog page on our website. So all videos up there, additional blog articles are supporting. So what's coming up next? Right now, we are still in the finalizing the last pilot projects from our very first batch. So the projects are just now coming to an end. We are at the very end of our second batch. This marks the final event of it, and in a little bit we will be handing over also to or going over to the pilot project of this batch. Next date is 15th of February. There we close our deadline, or that's the closing deadline for the application of the batch 3. We will start over on 16th of May with the next batch, and the demo day of the third batch will be 18th of August. So that was it, just as a little introduction from the RootCamp. We are moving over then to the pitches. Just some comments about the tool. Please stay tuned between the sessions. Maybe you need to start over with by pressing on the play button in between. We just have a very short break of maybe 50, maybe 20 seconds in between the sessions to re-enter with all the new panelists. The sessions at the end, they will have with the interaction with the startups. Please see it on the left side of your screen. There's the sessions buttons. The networking you can enter with the button below that. And the RootCamp team, as I said, will stay after the program here on stage at the main stage. So now we shut off for a couple of seconds and we'll re-enter in 20 seconds maybe.
So welcome everybody. Now still here in the office in Hanover. Welcome also from my side. My name is Gaia and I'm the program manager of RootCamp. And today we have 3 pitch sessions, and I will be the moderator of those sessions. And yeah, but let me tell you something about this cohort. So the 7 startups that are pitching today have been selected from over 300 startups that applied for this second batch. So we are very proud of them. And in the last 12 weeks, they did a tremendous job. And we had really more than 100 hours of coaching, plenty of workshops, and possibility to improve their startup from all the possible business side. So we had sessions about sales, marketing, IP, and obviously pitch training. And but without further ado, I will kick off this session. So the first one of today, where we will meet 3 startups that have developed some digital innovation for agriculture. So I would like to have Niels to join me on stage. Hey, Niels. So Niels is the co-founder of DigiFarm and is from Norway. Is also one of the 3 startups that won the EIC accelerator. So, and later you will see other 2 startups. For those that are not familiar, this is a European grant where this year more than 4,000 startups participated, and Niels is one of the startups that won the grant money. And he's a 15th generation farmer. He has a team with more than 15 people all around the world, and his passion are field boundaries. So Niels, do you want to tell us more?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that lovely introduction, Gaia. I'm thrilled to be here, and you bigged us up, so thank you for kicking off. But yeah, everybody, I'm Nils. I'm one of the co-founders and CEOs of DigiFarm, and we're an agtech startup based in Norway. And we started this journey back in 2019, but my journey starts a little bit further back, as exactly as Gaia mentioned. I'm a 15th generation farmer and crop producer in Norway. So a lot of what we're working on is closely rooted to my own personal experience and history. But we have a very simple mission. It's to detect the most accurate field boundaries worldwide. And why does this matter? Well, when I brought it back to my own personal experience, I took over my parents' farm or my family farm 8 years ago, and all the activities when it comes to fields roots back to boundaries. And it's the seeding, it's the variable regular fungicide application or fertilizer, it's yield prediction, it's soil sampling, it's fuel logistics, field. So it's all of these components really start with field boundaries, and it's the fundamental layer to digital agriculture. And right now, the current way of defining and manually delineating these boundaries is through people kind of manually digitizing these boundaries online. And so this is outdated, it's inaccurate, and what we're seeing now, for example, on my screen is some data from the US, where you have these common land units from the United States Department of Agriculture. They're manually drawn about 13 years ago, about 32 million parcels, and over time, naturally, boundaries do change, and seeded acres, of course, which is a critical component of boundaries, change every year. So this is time consuming, it's costly, and what we're doing, our solution, is the ability to take high resolution satellite data and be able to build these deep neural network models. They can automatically detect field boundaries in seeded acres. And this is really a critical component of agriculture. And when we look at the value chain, we originally started with kind of my own experience and how it started for me, but this affects the entire value chain. So we talked about pre-production, of course, when you talk about seeding and variable rate of fertilizer, etc. But this is, of course, very important when it comes to autonomy and robotics. This is a big industry going forward, and you don't want these robotics to hit electrical poles or telephone poles or falling down in creeks, etc. So boundaries is critically important. And of course, in crop insurance and subsidies, we're now seeing, of course, the changes in the Common Agricultural Policy in 2023 for all the 26 EU regions. It's becoming increasingly important to monitor these parcels on a continuous basis. And of course, boundaries is the kind of critical component of this. And right now, only 5% or so are being, of these boundaries are being checked in terms of seeded acres and crops. So what we're doing with some of the agencies and helping them automate some of that process. And of course, when we talk about grain processing and storage, they want to know how much is coming in, what times during the season and harvesting, and you need boundaries, up-to-date boundaries and seeded acres for this. And then all the way through the yield forecasting and wholesale market, there's a lot of talk about sustainability and traceability in the sector now for farmers and consumer goods. And of course, this kind of traces back all the way back to boundaries and what's happening in the season. And our very simple value proposition in terms of what we provide is we have a 12 to 50% higher accuracy on boundaries than existing cadastral solutions and manually delineated boundaries. Also important to mention that we delineate these in the season, so it's not kind of outdated information, and it's all automatic. So no need to kind of draw these boundaries in different FMS solutions or digital solutions for providers. And because we work exclusively with B2B agribusinesses and B2G, we package this in a very simple kind of API integration point. So consumers just kind of consume or query the data they really need. And of course, our target is to be able to make this very scalable. So doing 5 million hectares every day on a continuous basis around the world. And of course, the market's big when it comes to agriculture, but we focus on a couple of key areas. There's 570 million farmers in the world. 83% of all fields are smaller than 2 hectares. A lot of this data a lot of the boundaries are outdated in this particular sector. But we focus primarily on crop fields to begin with. And of course, woodlands and pastures is something we'll get to once we've nailed the crop fields. But the current pipeline we're leading with now is around 1.1 billion hectares around different 20 plus countries. And in terms of competition, of course, there's competition like everywhere in our industry. I think the USP for us is clearly that we have this extra high resolution satellite data because we super resolve Sentinel-2 from 10 meter to 1 meter. And this is a critical component for us to be able to get a much higher accuracy boundary. And this is really the key, is being able to have this boundary that you don't need to do any manual touching with. It should be able to just get go and farmers and end user can use it directly out of the box. And of course, we have a patent pending and we work directly with B2B. So splits this up a little bit from competition. But in terms of our roadmap, big part of us is being able to cover countrywide areas where we delineate boundaries. And right now we focus the majority of our parts in Europe, where we have countrywide coverage in several countries. But a big part of our exposure and expansion is for 2022 is Brazil, Argentina, US, Canada, India, and covering these additional regions. And luckily we have some clients on board, and we're thrilled that KWS has been supportive for us, and it's been an incredible journey to be able to work with the team there. So we're absolutely so thankful and grateful for that opportunity. And we also work with Bayer Crop Science and WWF and a few different clients around different countries. And we still have a pretty strong R&D network and technology partners, which helps us grow. Our infrastructure and data processing is pretty complex, so this is a big part of our collaboration. And it feels like it's been a long time, but we started in the end of 2018, and it was as an R&D project with the University of Life Sciences here in Norway and the Norwegian Agriculture Advisory Organization. And we've kind of grown there step by step along the ride, and we've managed successfully and thankfully get some help from European Space Agency, Norwegian Space Agency, and we won the Airbus InnoSpace Challenge last year and the Copernicus Masters, and we were thrilled to be one of the companies that made it into the RootCamp, which is just a fantastic initiative and program. And just as recently as Gaia mentioned, we managed to raise our €6 million funding from the AIC accelerator, where part is equity component and part a grant. But this has really helped us grow and scale our business. And in terms of the team, there's myself, I just look at myself as the farmer in this, of course, but I have Konstantin, who's my CTO and co-founder on the technical side. And then we have mostly engineers. There's 15 of us in total, where we grew 9 from last year. So it's certainly becoming a more solid and organized and executable team. And luckily, we have a strong advisory board too, where we have Josef Ackmann from Gaia and Jürgen, the former CEO of Yara, and Sverre Biskor, from founder and CEO of Kongsberg North Space, and of course Alex Melanchuk, who used to be the global head of digital farming technology at BASF and created Zona.ag as well. So it's been a great journey, and we'll be thrilled to take part in this program. And right now we're actively looking for clients in agricultural space that can benefit from our boundaries and some collaboration, and we're also hiring. So we'd love for anybody to get in touch. And thanks so much for the opportunity to listen today.
Thank you very much, Niels, for the nice presentation. I forgot to say it before, but if you have any questions for Niels or any of the startups that will present, don't be shy and write them in the chat. But yeah, maybe one quick question from my side. So you mentioned that you are looking for companies to collaborate with. So can you quickly elaborate on that?
Yes. So, I mean, companies in the agribusiness chain. I mean, for us, it's the crop insurance space is interesting, crop input producers, but BASF is the typical companies like this is something we'd love to work with. But we're also seeing more interest from companies that work on regenerative agriculture or carbon mapping, and we can, of course, help in part of that preliminary certification stage on boundaries. So anybody's got their hands on the ground, we'd love to hear from you. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Niels. Then you will meet him later, but I would like now to see Dimitri on stage. Hey, Dimitri. So Dimitri is one of the co-founders of GeoPard. GeoPard core team is made of three brilliant co-founders from Belarus, and they met over 10 years ago at Xavio. So their previous startup that was then acquired by BASF. And GeoPard is a precision agriculture platform. Dimitri, the stage is yours. Dimitri, sorry, you are muted. You need to start.
Yes, just.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, now I can hear you. Great. Sorry.
Thank you, Gaia. Yes, so thank you, Gaia. Excited to be here. I'm Dmitry with GeoPard. We built a precision agriculture platform. Agribusinesses adopt into digital era. They compete between each other for the attention of growers, and growers become smarter, they become bigger, and they use digital tools. Issue that there's huge amount of data collected every day on average farm, and this amount of data and complexity of this data is growing, and there will be 6 times more data in just 10 years. And what we built in GeoPard is an integrated precision agriculture platform that satisfies both agribusinesses and agri-consulting and growers. It is quite expensive and time-consuming to build a precision ag system from scratch, and we aggregated all the agronomic workflows and streamlined them all in one system. We start help with season planning, with soil sampling, fertilizing, seeding, and finish with post-harvest analysis. How it technically works: we aggregate various data sets like satellite imagery, micro-relief topography, LiDAR data, data from machinery, yield data, as applied data, soil protein data, data from soil scanners and soil agrochemical analysis, drone imagery. Out of that, with agronomic logic and with artificial intelligence algorithms, we in automated manner create prescription maps for various agronomic operations, for seeding, for fertilizing, for crop protection, herbicide application. We create in automated manner recommendations for scouting, for soil sampling. We benchmark fields by heterogeneity, by productivity, create total digital twin of any field in the world. And starting from next year, we'll go hard into biodiversity topics and sustainability topics. We'll be one of the providers of carbon analytics for marketplaces and different carbon players. And all the solution is available via API for integration into other platforms, web, mobile applications, and it's compatible with any modern machinery. So here's an example how it looks like. Digital twin means that we aggregate various data layers, and that enables to model and to enhance agronomic logic and from season to season. On this example, you can see that topography is overlaid by yield, and you can clearly see that you have watersheds where you have slopes, where you have potentially soil erosion, and for agri-consultant or for grower, it's a great tool to understand what he can improve and where it makes sense to start to implement precision agriculture practices. And our business model is quite simple. We try to democratize access to precision agriculture for any size of companies, small grower, medium-sized ag consulting, and of course, agricultural enterprises. And for agricultural enterprises, we have unique propositions that we can build branded precision agriculture platform for them in just 2 weeks. We have already various clients, consulting groups, independent research organizations. For example, Iowa Soybean Association is our client. Using our analytics allows them to provide better recommendations for their growers. We work with agri-holdings. For example, one of the biggest Ukrainian agri-holding is our client, and with ag input corporations and equipment dealerships. And here I will show you on the next slide few examples how does it work. But before that, we also integrated with other big players and ecosystem players in modern agriculture, like John Deere, Planet. We get imagery from Planet constellation. Also, we're integrating into other marketplaces, for example, Up42 marketplace by Airbus, and John Deere is obviously one of the biggest agricultural company, machinery company. We help them to improve analytics in my John Deere Operation Center, and we are totally integrated with their system. First use case, one of our clients, Carteva, they are one of the biggest agriculture manufacturers in the world, and their idea was to build new applications for European growers. And in that application, they needed in automated manner creation of prescription maps for seeding, for fertilizing, for crop protection based on various agronomic logic. And we enable them to have these maps. We create them in a matter of minutes instead of hours, because usually in other systems it's not near real time. And they were able to launch the applications in 6 or even more countries this year in just 1 year. Another use case is agri-service company from United Kingdom, Origin Enterprises. For them, we built white label solution, and it allowed them to win agronomic competition and increase customers' loyalty. So they show to their potential clients that they know a lot about their fields, and they create really great agronomic plans for them. We have a very experienced team. We previously, as Gaia mentioned, had another startup. It was acquired by Bayer. In Bayer, we were first technical managers and software engineers in Xarvio, established all the Xarvio system. And in 2019, we decided to start GeoPard again. We have advisors, very experienced. And our roadmap for the next, that of course, we want to become one of the leading player in independent precision agriculture analytics. And we will do it through intensive work with our partners, ecosystem partners. Also, we will adjust and create a few new models for crop insurance businesses, and also will become provider of carbon analytics. And of course, we'll do regional level market intelligence for nutrient demand for ag input corporations. And currently, we are raising Series A. And we are looking for partnerships with ag input corporations, precision agriculture companies, ag machinery companies and distributors, and other agtech startups. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, thanks, Dimitri. And I don't see at the moment questions in the chat. I think they were for Niels. So if I still have some minutes, I will bring him up again. But I have a question from my side. So you have plans to expand further in the US. So can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, sure. So United States is one of the biggest market for us, because penetration of precision agriculture is on quite a high level, and market in general is ready. Currently, companies use often solutions that were created in, let's say, 20 years ago, and new level of automation is needed for them. And now we have quite a lot of demand and a lot of negotiations with American companies. We see like big potential there.
Cool, thanks. Good luck with it as well. So now I will move to the third and last startup for this pitch session. So I would like, yeah, I see Helmut there. Great. So Helmut is the founder of Contagra. And is the only startup that we have at the moment in the current batch from outside Europe. So Helmut lives in South Africa, but he has German origins. And this is not his first company. So he has already extensive experience in financial risk management in the agricultural value chain. And with Contagra, he wants to create a financial marketplace. But Helmut,
yes.
Tell us more.
Thank you, Gaia. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. Yeah, like Gaia said, I'm Helmut. I'm talking to you today from the beautiful city of Cape Town in the southern part of Africa. And Contagra's idea really is to create a finance platform for the agri-food supply chain. When you look at the relative proximity of Europe to Africa, it makes obvious sense that European businesses or agri-businesses should export capital, machinery, inputs and services from Europe to Africa. And it makes equal sense for producers in Africa to access the European markets in terms of supplying agri-food. South Africa, for instance, entered into a preferential trade agreement 5 years ago, which saw sales increase by 20%. And the rest of Africa has similar potential of growth. But the EU has announced that there's upcoming regulations around sustainability and being able to show how the crops were produced, which will have a significant impact on producers going forward. And there's other systemic problems in agriculture that one needs to address in Africa. And to give you an insight into those problems that we face, I thought I'd share our story in my home country, South Africa. And South Africa, due to apartheid, has almost developed two separate production systems. On the one side, in the green areas, we have commercial farming, where farmers own the land and they can raise finance and produce crops and livestock. And in the brown areas, you have farmers that don't own the land and they can't raise finance and effectively doomed to perpetual subsistence farming. And the effect of that is that in the commercial areas, you have almost 800,000 hectares of cropland, which is taking place on land that's got low capability. And on the other spectrum, you have 500,000 hectares of smallholder land that's got huge potential, which is just usually purely for livestock production. And the problem lies in what I would like to call the sort of push-driven supply chain. And to explain it, a farmer who has collateral, he can go to a bank and raise finance. And then once he's got financing, he can go to an input supplier and say, listen, I've got the money, I'll buy your stuff for you. And he typically does that at retail prices. Then he starts producing, he absorbs all the production risk, the climate risk. And then once he's produced something, he tries to sell at wholesale prices to traders and processors in hopes to make enough money to repay his credit and also being able to do it again next year. The problem with that system is that the farmer is primarily incentivized to maximize profitability, and he deprioritizes long-term sustainability. And the other effective problem is that smallholders who don't have the collateral are effectively excluded from that system. And what I'm excited to share with you today, what we're doing as Contagra to solve that problem. And what we do, we start off with by not treating commercial and smallholder farmers differently. So we try and set up supply chains where it's really based on what the farmer can produce for a specific market. So we start with a market-driven approach where we set up agreements between off-takers and farmers for the produce. And then we use that delivery as a credit instrument and work with financiers to accept it as payment for credit. And once we have that credit in place, we're able to offer payment guarantees to input suppliers who then offer products for wholesale prices at farmers. And this effectively creates a flywheel of growth and closes the loop and gives us the traceability that we need to access the European markets. To show you what our product looks like, we start with an online digital twin of the farming operation, including production histories and the schedule for the upcoming season. We provide tools for buyers to actually buy crops and livestock directly on the field. And then at the heart of our service, we have a structured procurement facility, we call it, which manages all the business rules around payments to farmers based on milestones, the funding that's available, the interest charges, what's been delivered, what's not been delivered, what needs to be paid. And that's all organized in our procurement facility. And then we effectively have a marketplace where input suppliers can then do direct sales with farmers with accredited products. And then our final step on our process to make sure that all the stuff that is growing, that has been financed, is actually growing and is ready for delivery, which then settles the credit risk. In terms of what we do differently or how we try and compete is that we've invested heavily into risk models that take long-term climatic data, remote sensing data, production data from the farm to calculate the financial impact of deliveries at a supply chain location, which effectively makes growing crops and livestock a bankable asset because we can quantify it financially. In terms of our business model, we don't charge buyers, which are effectively buyers buying from farmers, and also farmers buying from input suppliers any fees. We also don't charge financiers any fees for dispersing the funds. Where we do participate is when we're working with reinsurers to underwrite the production risk. We take a share in that premium. And we also charge sellers, which could be input suppliers or farmers, a combination of subscription and transaction fees. And then we also promote an open source SDK and API to developers to integrate our framework into new age e-commerce and marketplace applications. In terms of our market, the 5-year projection for exports to Europe and the supply chain facilitation fees, it represents an accessible market of 141 billion. It's a sizable, massive market. We are obviously targeting economies that have specific economic characteristics, which gives us an addressable market of about 23 billion. And then we also need a specific commodity life cycle or liquidity to make it work, which gives us a roughly an obtainable market of 5 billion. In terms of how do we differentiate ourselves, we primarily promote ourselves as a trusted intermediary. So we're trying to build a decentralized ecosystem as opposed to some of our competitors that are looking at vertically integrating supply chains to create closed ecosystems. And what we also do is we really focus on the supply chain financing aspects, where a lot of startups are looking at the farmer as a credit customer, typically microlending, those types of systems. We really focus on the supply chain financing angle. In terms of traction, I've been involved in various projects with sizable risk products for the barley industry in South Africa. I've developed online direct-to-consumer marketplaces with a large media company, even developed very extensive financing platforms, and also excited to be part of RootCamp. And the idea was with RootCamp to incorporate all these technologies into a going business called Contagra. And this next year, I'm also co-founder of a company called SDX. And SDX provides traceability solutions to industry bodies who are now gearing themselves for the export market to Europe. And this next year, we look at integrating our financial platform into these solutions. And the year after that, then we then plan to expand into Africa. In terms of the team, I'm a solo founder. I've co-founded several startups. I managed a large credit book for Absa Bank, the systems for managing, which is $8 billion asset value. I've got an engineering degree with a master's in sustainable agriculture and an MBA from the University of Munich. I want to expand the team with sales and marketing and development. And going forward, we're looking for agri-food brands that strategically want to expand their supply chains from Africa. Similarly, we're looking for projects for agribusinesses that want to increase their market share in Africa. And then in the next year, I'm hoping to raise 250,000 euros pre-seed finance to expand the team, build our agricultural base map for Africa. And then we're working hard on an innovative, decentralized blockchain payment solution that underpins our settlement, and then just continually improving our SDK and API that we offer to developers. And with that, I look forward to potentially partnering and jointly developing projects. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Helmut. I saw in the chat there are a couple of people that are very interested. So Simone wrote that they're doing something similar in Germany to contact her, and before there was another comment from Elisha, if I'm not wrong now, I don't see it, but yeah, so very interesting topic, I would say. And maybe we're running a bit out of time for this session, but obviously I want to ask you also one question. And maybe you can explain us a bit. So now you are in Africa and focusing on the African market. Can you quickly elaborate on how your service would work in other territories?
Sure. So, I mean, the big opportunity is Africa because it's so underdeveloped and there's so much potential. And I think Africa still is in that sense is virgin territory, you know, and I think it's got the opportunity to build something that's really sustainable and not necessarily replicate what happened in South America into sort of large-scale industrial agriculture. So that's our initial focus. It's our home base, and it's connecting that with Europe. But you know, we're working with clients of ours who, for instance, manage 365 days of procurement of avocados, which range from Kenya all the way to Chile. So supply chains are going global, and we're hoping that over our clients in Europe that we will start developing supply chains in other territories. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much, Helmut. Before I close this session, I would like to remind you that you will be able to meet Niels, Dimitri, and Helmut later. So the main program is happening here on the main stage, and at the end you will be able to join so-called sessions which are virtual booths where you can talk directly with the founders. So now please stay here in the main stage. Now we will have around 30-minute panel discussion moderated by Caspar with title Biotech versus Agritech Sourcing the Impact. So stay here for a couple of seconds and we will come back. Thanks.
Hi Gaia.
Now we're live. Sorry.
Okay. Welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to moderate today's panel. My name is Caspar, and the topic, as Gaia already mentioned, will be biotech and agtech. Where is the impact really coming from, and when is the impact really there? From which sources? Who will use the technology first, and maybe what needs to change? For this, of course, I have a nice line-up to have different perspective on this topic. I have Alexander Engelke with me from the Rentenbank, who brings his point of view from the finance world on this biotech and agtech industry. I have Michael Slota providing the science background and the science perspective. Then also Christoph as a farmer, actually where maybe hopefully the impact also will be applied at some point, and Alexander Wiegelmann to provide some feedback and perspective from a corporate standpoint on this topic. And without further ado, I would love to invite everyone after another to start the discussion and by introducing him briefly, and then provide a little perspective on the agtech, biotech potentials, opportunities, and maybe also what does it hold this industries back. And yes, I would love to Alexander Engelke maybe to start. And yes, then and after that, we hopefully get a nice open discussion, can hopefully respond to some open questions.
Yeah, thank you, Caspar, and thank you for inviting me to this panel discussion. I was very pleased, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. To my person, I originally come from near Hanover, near the RootCamp, and grew up on an agricultural farm. I also did like vocational training and studied in agricultural economics, so a complete agricultural background. And at Rentenbank, I work in the area of startup promotion, of agri-food startup promotion. The Rentenbank is the national promotional bank for agriculture. And by providing support to the startups, we want to make our contribution to the future viability of agriculture. Like the challenges for agriculture are very big and even often conflict to each other. And we think to master them, we need innovations and we need successful agri-food startups. Like they are a key element in overcoming the challenges we have in the agri-food ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Maybe we just switch to the other Alexander, Wiegelmann, to shine some perspectives on from the corporate world on these two industries and what they might bring to us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Caspar. So my name is Alexander Wiegelmann, and I work for KWS, which is a seed company, the fifth largest in the world, and I head the new business ventures activities. And as part of that, we also pursue, obviously, collaborations and investments into startups. So what is our perspective on biotech versus agritech? So for us, basically, this is a symbiosis of both. So as a breeder, you always have the question, okay, what do I breed for? Which trait will, so to say, echo in the market positively? So what do I go for? And as agritech, so to say, advances and becomes smarter, becomes automated, and ubiquitous, you can basically start to look into your portfolio and find out if you can, so to say, have certain plants that in the past had to resist, for example, herbicides, and now you basically have robots in the field that do automated weeding for you mechanically. So in that case, do you still need this herbicide tolerance, right? There's a question. So if you don't need that trait anymore, what else could you go for, right? This is just one of the examples, but you can go much broader, thinking about, okay, what other kind of traits going into the draw, tolerance, and so on. Which ones, so to say, do you need now? Which ones find a market, and which ones maybe sort of find a home in the agri-tech space, so to say, with drip irrigation that is smartly managed. I mean, so to say, there's always a balance to strike, and for a seed company, that is very important to identify, okay, what is going to be the growth market, and which market may, so to say, face the influence of agri-tech, and in that case may not be so to say profitable anymore. So I think for seed companies, this is a highly interesting debate. We see it synergistic, as said, because at the end of the day, certain traits that you don't need to perform a certain task anymore, you can, so to say, take out and focus the growth of the plant, for example, to yields, right? So for us, it's synergistic. At the same time, it's maybe competitive. So a dynamic field. Thanks.
Thank you. That was very interesting. I would love to discuss this later on. Mikhail, maybe you as a scientist can also add and shine your perspective on, and then after that, we go to Christoph. Are you on mute still, Mikhail?
Okay, thank you, Caspar, for the introduction, and also for all the founders of the startup for their impressive briefings on their development technologies. So just a few words about my personal background and mandate to talk here on this relevant topic. Primary field of my specialization was plant biotech, and during my university career, I moved from the academia to the business. And then when working in the business sector, I have switched my scientific interest in the human nutrition and health science. So I have an unusual perspective to look at the development of different technologies related to agriculture and life science field. And my first insight on the basic difference is that there is two kinds of difference between these two fields. First is the existing knowledge gap, as I could call it, due to the complexity of the material we are working with in the agriculture sector, and data incoherence, time consuming of all the field-related studies that are even incomparable for the life science sector. And probably the second aspect I would like to mention would be the lack of adjustments of funding and research and development ecosystems that have the time to adjust in terms of the life science sector, and in terms of agri-food sector. There are now still looking for the perfect balance, especially for the investors who are used to a specific type of the mode of action description that isn't so easy in terms of the agriculture developments. And the resistance on the investors to put their money on this part on investment is visible when we see at the numbers So first, the bigger volume of the investments are among the sectors of biotech development in the agriculture sector. Then there is some technology and novel marketplace development. And on 7th or 8th place, we have the development of biomaterials and other agri-inputs to that sector that does not rise over 300,000 million euro globally in 2021. What I would like to also mention is that probably the role of specialized startup incubators as RootCamp is really crucial due to bridging the knowledge transfer and experience exchange between the active players in that field. And probably just to go closer to the summary, I would say that both fields have a massive impact on the society, both directly and indirectly affecting human health. Maybe the agriculture field is neglected somehow because the healthy fruit production is specifically important for the easy access to healthy food that would definitely access the human well-being. So I would say that would be my contribution for a start.
Thank you, Mikhail. And I think this is a wonderful handover for Christoph. Maybe Christoph can share some perspective if he has all the offers of biotech companies now, maybe trying to approach him with some offers and also digital startups. And of course, the gap between of all these opportunities and chances and promises out there, what is actually happening on the farm and what are you looking for? What would be the most promising and impactful technology?
Well, thank you for the introduction and a quite tricky question to start with, to be honest. Maybe just a quick thing about myself. As you've heard, I'm a farmer in northern Germany. I've taken over the family farm now about 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm born and raised farmer. I did the apprenticeship, studied agricultural science. So I'm like Alexander, very, very close to the basis. And then worked as a volunteer manager on a farm for about 2 years. But then decided I have to broaden my horizon a little bit and went into the startup world. So first as a sales rep for a food delivery startup, and then I spearheaded the business development of an agtech company, which was in the machine sharing business. So I did this for about 3 to 4 years, and then went back home. And I've now, so to say, switched sides, if you will. So went from the money receiving end in the startup side to the investor and the customer perspective. And I'm very glad that you invited me to kind of get a farmer's point of view. What is to your question, the most impactful for me? It's impossible to say. I mean, the market is huge, yes, and from a personal perspective, I say the chances of disruption and new developments on the market are extremely high, and every big player on the market should be very wary of the speed and the flexibility that startups can bring. Personally, right now, I'm either using or have tried or I'm planning to use 5 different startups on my farm. So they go from weather stations over through trading platforms like CropSpot, and also market prediction places and measuring temperature and humidity in our crop and storage. And I do all that with startups. And so I'm very keen on using them, but I can also see where things can go bad quickly, especially if you deal with farmers, because I think we are a very special breed, so to say. But I'm really looking forward to the discussions in the next 30 minutes, and thank you a lot for the invitation.
Thank you, Christoph. Yes, I think this was already a good start. Has somebody in the round already some thoughts to bring up here and maybe Alexander Engelke, I would say we mentioned that the opportunities are huge. There are lots of startups in the biotech and agtech scene. They raise money. Where does the Rentenbank puts the money, and how do they approach I would say push the growth for these startups?
Yeah, to your first question, like where we put the money, like we're a national promotional bank and we're closely together with like Federal Ministry of Agriculture, and in cooperation, like we have a program where we support startups financially with funds from, it's a special purpose asset of the ministry, and in this programs, startups receive subordinated loans up to 800,000 euros. And the special feature is that they don't need to have any personal guarantees or collaterals, and that's not required for the loan. We don't also take any shares and have no conversion rights. So it's therefore a highly attractive funding for agtech and agri-food startups. And so that's the instrument or the way we put it and where we put it. And that's what I try to say in my introduction. It's always impact driven. So because we look from the perspective of agriculture, and we want to master the challenges of agriculture. And if the startups contribute, and they can contribute in very different ways, then so there's a basis for investing money or sending the loans. And this can be like, of course, robotics, mechanization, that's a big thing, and software-based decision support and supply chain technology, where like you can bring through digitization the agricultural product nearer to the customer and or to the consumer, and he is willing to pay more when he sees and can see how the production goes and what maybe ecological impact it had. And yeah, so those where we put it, it's quite different. It's all about impact driven.
Yes, I like to be a bit more provocative. If I'm looking back the last 10 or 15 years, I think that the industry and also the startups promising a lot. And if I'm really honest in looking at the industry, I think there's still so much room for improvement and actually to really have a big breakthrough in impact. So as Alexander Wiegelmann said, how there will be robots maybe weeding, and so the whole trade in varieties for herbicide resistance might be obsolete. I think this sounds for me fantastic, and but how realistic is it? How fast would be farmers and KWS and the system be to actually make that happen? And I think Alexander can maybe shine some light on the. I think my KWS is the digital approach, and of course the breeding is the biotech side. Maybe you can have some insights for us.
Yeah, very happy to. So I think the infrastructure, at least on KWS side, would be there, right? That we basically could get to a level where we're not just selling a seed, but selling a clean field, so to say, right? So you basically can take it all. But I think the reality is that today you have different technical approaches, and at the end of the day, not every farmer is as entrepreneurial as Christoph is, for example. So we as KWS, who are basically also then sell the product directly to the farmer or sell it through our retailers to the farmer, but take responsibility for, so to say, the solution we are selling, or at the end of the day for the yield. We have to test run. So we, at the moment, take a position of a filter. So we have proof of concepts. We have a weeding challenge where we let the robots in and try them out, and we give feedback. Yeah, we are also looking at actively at robotic companies that basically we can collaborate with closer. Right, we are looking for an ecosystem to work with because we want to push that forward. But we are very aware that this movement, until you really have something that you can in a commoditized way, sell as a clean field service is still a long way away, and so the HT trades, so to say, still have a very good reason to exist, right? While at the same time we try to make it possible, and I think for a seed company, again, and being, so to say, the one responsible for the yield as a farmer, or feeling responsible for that, I think that we actually do have a very strong interest in trying to get the technology to a level where it actually can be, with very good reason and gut feel, be presented as a commercial product. So that is our role here.
Maybe just a quick insight from my view. Funny enough, there are solutions for robots on the field already, and in a little conglomerate of a couple of farms over the winter, we've actually done the math already on whether they would be applicable in the field or not. And it turns out what's really holding back it so far, cost-wise for the farmer, is that one large tractor with one person driving it, doing the work, is just slightly more expensive than 2 or 3 robots doing it. So if the costs for labor keep rising, I think we will see robots on the field a lot sooner than we might expect, because the race is quite close in between robots and manual labor, or driving the tractor manually when you look at the current developments.
That's very interesting.
Yes,
Also,
very interesting remark.
I think I have a little echo. Okay. What I think is what I heard, Christoph, that you're using some digital startups mostly. But how about the biotech side? And because maybe it's also my bubble, but we talk a lot about the soil and the power what is within the soil, organic matter and carbons and so on and so forth. Maybe Mikhail can have a little perspective on that. What is maybe possible? And I think that there's a huge opportunity. Also, if you look at the fertilizer side, for maybe startups there. But at least in Germany and in my little bubble, I see that there's much more room for improvement for trying also biotech startups.
I would say that in that scope, we have 2 different approaches really visible. First of all, we have the biotechnological base. So there are the approaches like CRISPR-Cas system for gene editing of new traits in plants. So those are for the fancy guys. And the second thing, as you mentioned, is to go up to the roots, to the history of organic agriculture, and see the traits that we could use the conventional version of planting on the field, and use the advances that science gives to have a better development here. But a key question is how much time does it take? I have a comparison, because one of my scientific advisors at the university was one of the chief technologists of the International Agency for the Atomic in Vienna, and he was developing the mutagenesis system for the seeds stuff, and it took about 25 years for the market to adjust to the mutagenized seeds to use for the new varieties. So for me, there is a blockage between the developed technologies as CRISPR-Cas system for the editing of genomes of new seed stocks, and entering the market due to natural constraints between the technology. And in that terms, I would see also the field for the activity of the companies that would take advantage of all that sensor technologies, just try to adjust the conventional agricultural practice to real life field conditions, and try to use technology to evaluate the state and adjust our practice for this huge complexity in the rhizosphere, because it is really a small microcosmos there, and trying to solve all that issues is really critical.
Yes, I can imagine. Yes, especially the emotions which can rise up if we talk about CRISPR-Cas. There's mostly not a really objective discussion. It's mostly lots of people think they know something about it, and so I think there's a lot of educational work to be done as well. I think what I at least from the outside, it's always easy to think there's so much opportunity. And maybe Christoph, maybe once more to the farmer side. There's always, if the farming, there's a lag because you have to try something over a year. So the industry itself has this typical, maybe a bit slower adoption, but of course, most farmers have multiple fields and they can try on 1 or 2 fields, new technologies or new variety is difficult. Of course, they do that as well, but also maybe other technologies. Do you have others or other industries you would like to test in the future? What is the next best bet from your perspective? What you would like to test and to dig deeper?
Oh boy. Well, I think especially, well, but that's a very personal view. I think that the fact that we as farmers hold an immense amount of responsibility also back to the public. And what I would wish and hope for is that we could possibly find solutions where we work closer to the ESG side, so to say. So I think what we have to look at is, with all the discussion about nitrogen in the waters and the new fertilizer restrictions we're getting and all the political impacts that are coming from the outside. I mean, Michael will relate if we talk about CRISPR-Cas and what politics decides what can be or can't be done. So I'd say what I would love is if we could get to a point where we are closer to teach people understanding what we actually do. It has nothing to do with a certain product or a certain service. I think the main focus in the future, and that's for me personally, should be a lot into communication and showing what farming in the 21st century is actually like. I mean, I don't see the next Google or Amazon equivalent on the horizon startup-wise. And I couldn't say I want to go deeper into this field or that field. I think very important for the future of agriculture is most of all a wider understanding which would help everyone. And also, if we want to look at the environmental side, measuring your carbon footprint, for example, which we've just heard before, and doing something for decarbonization and making use of our of the possibility that we have as farmers. I think that will be a major part in the future.
Quite good closing words, maybe, because we are approaching also the end of this little short panel discussion. Thank you very much for the perspectives on these 2 technologies and where the impact might be and when it will actually also hit and grow. Now we have a little break, so of 15 minutes. There are 2 options. You can, of course, use the breakout rooms and a networking event. I think it's on the left side of your screen, and meet the startups and the participants. Or you take a 15 minutes break, and then on this main stage, the second part of the demo day will start. Thank you very much again to the panelists, and I wish you lots of fun for the rest of the panel day and a great day.
So welcome back to the main stage. I hope you enjoyed the break and or the networking. And so now I'm pleased to introduce you to additional startups from our second batch. And 2 startups have something to do with new materials, and they both won the EIC accelerator, as well as I mentioned before, Niels. And these 2 startups are Bioweg and FibriTech, and we will start with Bioweg. So yeah, now I see Pratik on stage. Hey, Pratik. So Bioweg is a company based in Germany, in Quakenbrück, so not so far away from Hanover, where they are. Where their lab is based. And Pratik is a PhD at the Max Planck Institute, and he was supervised by the Nobel Prize winner from 1995. And after some years of consulting for EY, he now co-founded Bioweg. And Bioweg tries to solve the problem of microplastic. But let's hear it from Pratik. Pratik, you're muted.
Okay, thank you.
Now I can hear you. Perfect. So the stage is yours.
Thank you, Gaia. So thanks for the introduction, Gaia. And I would start by this figure where you can see a placenta and a baby, right? So it was a big report which came out in Guardian in 2020, which talks about that there are 12 different types of microplastics were found in the placenta. And when they found the origin of these small microplastic particles, they were all colored and pigmented particles and identified to come from our day-to-day personal care products and artificial coatings. So our day-to-day personal care products actually have solid and liquid microplastics. On the other hand side, the current practices in agriculture use plastic seed coatings in order to protect the seed from any kind of heat, pH, pest, and insects. And these are contributing toxicity to our food chain overall. But why are we talking about this today? The European Chemical Agency, in response to the microplastic pollution and such type of human hazards, have came up with a mandate to ban the microplastic in consumer care, agriculture, and other industries by 2027, 2028. This is not only just a ban, but they have also defined what biodegradability means, because plastic is also biodegradable, but in 200 years. Bioplastics are also biodegradable in 2 to 10 years, depending upon the type of bioplastic. However, they come up with a very strict mandate of biodegradability, mentioning that all the ingredients used can only label biodegradability if they are biodegradable in 60 days. Which this mandate and the phase out of microplastic create a huge amount of pressure on raw material suppliers, as well as consumer product companies, which are using different kind of coatings or microplastic-based products. And all of them are looking for technologies which are not only biodegradable, but also highly functional material, which are used in different kind of use cases they are working on. So we are Bioweg, based out of near to Osnabrück. And my name is Pratik. I'm the co-founder and CEO. With 2.5 years of R&D, we have developed a solution to solve this problem. We have combined 3 different verticals of science. One is proprietary fermentation technique. Second is molecular simulation. And third is green material chemistry to develop different kind of products. How we do this is basically we take side streams from the food industry and do fermentation and translate these side stream from the food industry into bacterial cellulose. With this bacterial cellulose, we try molecular simulations to develop different varieties of products or different functionalization of the material, and then translate these molecular simulations in the computer into a real product using green chemistry in our lab, and give it back to the industry with closing the loop of circular economy. So we have developed solutions specifically replacing the seed coating polymer in the seed industry. You can see some of the samples there on the right hand side of the screen. It's one of the major aspect is 100% biodegradable in 60 days. It's sustainable, have a 10-fold lower carbon footprint as compared to the other bio-based materials. It has a very strong and clear film forming ability, which provides a film around the seeds. It comes from a non-food source as compared to other gums or other materials. And it's the most important characteristics that it's stable with wide range of temperature, salt, and pH. We have a very strong value proposition as compared to others, is 100% biodegradable in 60 days. We are not using any kind of a GMO strain. We have a circular production process. We customize and have lower LCA, not using any kind of animal products. And last but not the least, we are not using any kind of toxic chemicals in the whole process, leading to functional green chemistry. So that's just the start. We are using the same technology on plant-based meat, where we are working with German Institute of Food Technology to test our material in the plant-based meat to provide structure and taste. And on the cosmetics, we are working with Henkel and L'Oreal to test our materials to replace microbeads and plastic polymers as a rheology modifier. So coming to our value chain, we take raw materials from big sugar suppliers. Like currently we are collaborating with Südzucker in Germany, with whom we take cheap side streams of sugar industry like molasses and translate in this cheap side stream via fermentation and green chemistry into a valuable product of the bioeconomy and supply it to either to the chemical companies or to the product companies, which will in turn, in the end, lead to create products which are used by the end users. So we have a B2B business model, and we depend upon closing a recurring volume contracts with either the product companies or the chemical companies. So in terms of commercialization, we are currently in discussion. We currently have a pipeline of 18 to 20 mid to large size companies. Some of them are mentioned below, like DSM, KWS, Acito, L'Oreal, Henkel, and BASF. In all of the cases, in the beginning, we follow a 5-step process where we gather requirements, develop a customized solution, provide them alpha, beta, or iterate the sample based on the feedback from them. The idea is that by next year, we will be closing our first sales contract, following up with the recurring revenues for at least 4 to 5 years, keeping in mind the product life cycle of one product. So in terms of competition and state of art, we have a direct and indirect competitors. So one of our direct competitors is CP Kelco, based out of US, and we differentiate from them, especially on 3 major areas: performance, biodegradability in 60 days, and pricing. With regard to indirect competitors, we differentiate on 4 major grounds: temperature and pH stability, performance, biodegradability, and pricing, as shown on the screen. So this whole thing won't be possible without this amazing team. We are 3 experienced co-founders. Srinivas Karuturi is heading our operations. He has worked for Daimler and Deutsche Bank in Germany for more than 10 years, heading operations globally. He has also previously had a startup, MicroBloomTech, on biotechnology. Then we have Yogesh, who is our powerhouse of R&D, who have more than 15 to 20 years of experience, specifically working on cellulose and making different products of cellulose at Max Planck, Aalto, and in Sweden. Last but not the least, I did my PhD at Max Planck and worked in Ernst & Young, especially on life science and chemical companies. And I am a bridge maker between the business development and the science side. We have 2 very strong, experienced angel investors, Marcus and Frank, who have believed in us and invested the seed round with us. They come from a chemical industry and from Ernst & Young. On the other hand side, we have a team of 8 full-time employees based in Quakenbrück, ranging from finance to fermentation to material science to formulations. So this journey has been very exciting, lots of ups and downs. So we started in 2019, where we have validated our product and won the DSM Yes Delft Challenge in Netherlands. And afterwards, we raised the seed round in 2020 and set up the lab and start developing samples, which we validate with different clients. We recently, in 2021, we have got a grant from not only support from the NBank with the SME Innovation Grant, but also the EIC grant from the European Innovation Council. So in total funding of roughly 13.5 million in combination of grant as well as equity funding from the EIC. What's next is basically we are working on posit unit economics, setting up a fast pre-scale up bigger volumes, and specifically for this we are collaborating with Gaia and looking forward to close first commercial contract by next year. Thank you, and if you are interested in our material, super material, we will be happy to collaborate with you.
Thank you very much, Pratik. I also saw some fans here in the chat. Alexander Katsum, I don't know, was very impressed by your introduction. I don't see any question, but maybe, yeah, I need to move forward. But one quick question, maybe you can tell us more about what's happening in Bioweg in the next couple of months, so very short term.
So we are, there are two major aspects we are currently working on. We have acquired a lot of traction from different companies, as I said, roughly 18 to 20 companies. Now we have to deliver bigger amounts of sample. So we are working on, first of all, delivering these samples. So we currently got a bigger pre-pilot facility developed with the help of NBank and City of Quakenbrück, which we will be getting from 15th of February. So we are really looking forward to it. And second, we are also testing our scale-up process or a bigger process with Gaia, which is gonna put a lot of a lot of fire in the game, because we will be able to scale up with the help of the machine providers, which machines we can use, what is the energy economics, and what will be the unit economics after in the scale up. Yeah.
Perfect. Then thank you very much, Pratik. Now I will move to introduce the second startup in this section, so FibriTech, and I see now on the screen. Hi, Thomas. So
Hello.
Thomas, the co-founder of FibriTech, a company from Poland, I would define Thomas as an inventor. He's a PhD in electromagnetic and many years of experience also in the startup innovation ecosystem. And then he came back to Poland and he started FibriTech, and FibriTech developed I hear a bit of echo in the room around Thomas, but no worries. I hope the audience will hear your presentation. But yeah, we want to hear more about FibriTech, Thomas. So I leave the stage to you.
Thank you very much for this introduction. We are developing new eco-fibrous materials. And since 2021, there is first effective ban on single-use plastics. Not only yes.
Sorry if I interrupt you, but we cannot see properly the slides. They are kind of cut. I don't know why.
How could that be? Let me check.
Try again now in full screen modus.
Is better?
Yeah, now it works. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And obvious solution for disposable plastics would be to find a bio version of plastics. But this is not straightforward technologically without compromising on eco factors. Moreover, the material for bioplastics, if it's going to be based on biomass, it's not the majority of biomass. Over 60–70% of the biomass are fibers. That's why we see a new trend of more fibrous materials and eco-solutions coming in the form of fibrous structures. And first solutions are available for thin two-dimensional materials, but there is much larger problem in 3D expanded materials like styrofoams or rockwool. They are produced in dozens, millions of tons and expanded into 20 times bigger structures because those are light materials which are not biodegradable and hard to recycle. And the world is really missing a 3D expanded technology for fibers. We invented a new process for expanding and bonding fibers in 3D without chemistry, so it's clean, without using biogrowth, so it's fast and scalable. And this new physical process leads to new material with a broad range of functionalities, providing ecological alternatives to materials like styrofoam and rock wool. Is industrially scalable and finds many other applications. We found out that this material is really a fundamental shift because it can also work as an alternative growing medium in hydroponics to organic peat. Other applications are in typical packaging or more specialized insulators, filters, and future biocomposites. With multiple products, we can address several markets, diversify the risk, but what's most important for the core of our technology is that we turn existing fibers into more functional structures in 3 dimensions, in that way giving the fibers better value, more value in materials, and moreover, we can also accommodate for lower quality waste and recycled fibers, which are nowadays not useful in existing paper and textile industries and are often burned, producing more CO2. The functionality of our material comes from the uniqueness of our 3D bonding process, which provides us control over thickness of the material, external 3D shapes, it's scalable, and we can also control the internal density of the material. All of that leads to better material value, really ecological alternative to special materials, and new functionalities, like in agri-substrate. It is clean and solid material with great germination and roots development, and biodegradability opens also seedling application because it mixes well with the soil. There is only one solution available on the market, so it's almost like a blue ocean. Innovative company is trying to bind fibers by biogrowing fungi, which is hardly scalable. Lastly, Stora Enso is introducing a more scalable solution, also using biobinders, so we'll see how it works cost-wise. For the moment, it doesn't seem to be cheap, and bioplastics are even more expensive. So binderless binding of fibers in 3D seems to be important from scalability viewpoint and functionality. FibriTech needs multidisciplinarity, which is led by experienced chief officers with over 20 years of experience in hardware and industrial engineering, and in 2 startups with exit. I co-founded WiSub, which was acquired by Transmark, inventing underwater contactless connectors, and Tomasz Borkowski co-founded Mindbait, acquired by WB Electronics, creating IoT complex systems and communication for the industry. In this project, we are supported by the best experts from fibrous technologies in Scandinavia. Typical go-to-market from new materials is to test it on smaller scale in B2C in each new application. This is what we did in agri-substrates, when finding a formula for the product and its scalability to future mass manufacturing. Our business model is B2B licensing of the technology to manufacturers and also sales of unique forming device. For the next 2 years, we are scaling the demo line to prepare for commercialization after reaching technology readiness level 9. We are also secured with the financing for the industrial scaling, supported by European Innovation Council for breakthrough deep tech projects, and the future factories will take also into account the new biorefineries, which are working in parallel on new biofeedstocks. New industrial technology needs recognition before the mass-scale sales, so we were recognized by industrial experts next to big companies like Stora Enso, Calcan Fibers, or Metsa. We ran several pilot projects based on real material samples and signed over 10 letters of intent with interested manufacturers. Now we look for more tests with partners in vertical and precision farming to address more products in the hydroponics, microgreens, and also to find bioadditives for better growing. FibriTech is about 3D materials from plant fibers, but it is not 3D printing. We invented a scalable process for new eco-materials based on a network of fibers bonded in 3D. Please join us to make eco-matter together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. As I mentioned at the beginning, unfortunately, Rolf, there are some background noises behind Thomas, but it's a small inconvenience. But so thank you very much for the presentation. Very interesting startup and material. Before we move on, maybe just one quick question to you as well. Can you tell us which kind of fiber sources or which kind of raw materials can you use? How should the quality of them be?
Mentioning about waste and recycling fibers gives the hint that we can accommodate for many types of fibers in 3 dimensions. That wouldn't be possible in the flat paper, but in 3-dimensional structures we can now open to more.
I think we have some technical issues with Thomas today. I will wait a couple of seconds. I think we lost him. So unfortunately, we couldn't hear the full answer, but you will find Pratik and Thomas also at the end of the program here in the main stage in the sessions. So they will open you will see them opening in the left side of your screen. And now we can move to the second panel of today. Which will be moderated by Philipp, called Success Factor for Industry and Startups to Collaborate. So we will, please stay here. So the main stage will go blank for a couple of seconds, and then we will be back with Philipp and the panelists.
So, hello everyone, back again. We want to move over to the next panel, looking at how actually we did the collaboration between startups and the industry. I introduce the panelists in a very few moments. Just let me setting the stage, setting the frame. We are about to focus a little bit on what actually is or happens within the project, and so you know what the project is actually about. I'll give you just a little hint on how we actually do our process. So what we do normally, I told you that we have the acceleration phase. That is where we have the final of the second batch. We now are at the demo day. We also have a jury panel. At the jury panel, it's decided which concepts that are being prepared are then actually being conducted within the second phase in the pilot projects. So this is what we did already last year. And now we look at one of the projects that was started in April last year. And here you see the whole range of projects. We were looking actually at fertilizer recommendation in Uganda, at crops. We were looking at measuring soil organic carbon with smart cloud farming. And we were looking at how to make salt pipes greener with BeGrow. And today we are looking on how actually Aquapona and K+S together developed a premix to prepare the salt water for land-based aquaculture, for land-based shrimp farming. We don't go deeper into the details of this project. We will report over that over our normal channels and our newsletter, so please subscribe to that. So we will report about the project and the details and the results. Today we are talking about how actually the project was being conducted and how the interaction of these very different partners are there. How different these partners are will be shown by the next slide. So you see the InnoPark Sigmundsthal, it's a former mining site here around the corner, so 25 kilometers from Hanover, and actually Aquapurna is right there over at the corner. So I think they're quite huge, but in comparison to the whole mining site, they're still quite small. But now let's bring the panelists to the stage. And would you please introduce yourself? I would like to start with Dirk. Can you say words to you and what you're actually heading at K+S?
Yeah, hello, thank you, and welcome to everybody. Yeah, my name is Dirk Neumann. I'm working for K+S since now 2003, and I had different positions in finance and controlling and investor relation. And since October last year, I'm head of corporate development and innovation. That means I'm quite new in this function, and I'm learning each day. And yeah, it's a very interesting topic for me.
Many thanks. I would then hand over to Francisco. He was the internal champion of this project.
Thank you. Thank you, Philipp, for the introduction. My name is Francisco Martin. I have been working for K+S since 20 years, and I was in many positions and in countries. And since 2 years, I am responsible for the technical department, technical advisory department for the industrial products, and I'm glad to be here.
Many thanks, Francisco. Now the counterpart, David, you were in the first batch of the RootCamp. You came with Florian. We're actually working here, but actually you started with no more than some ideas, a concept, and some graphics. So now you're CEO of Aquapurna and you're reeling moving stones.
Yeah, you could put it that way, I guess. During the K+S collaboration project, we always saw us a bit like a guinea pig, so to speak, because we were one of the first collaborations, and nobody really knew exactly how it will work out at the end. So we are really happy at what place we ended up now.
Perfect. And so as an umbrella of this topic, I would like to introduce Felix from KPMG. You're muted right now. Could you say a couple of words about you?
Of course. Thank you, Philipp. Yeah, Felix Haarstick. I'm part of KPMG Innovate. That's the innovation unit of KPMG, where we are working with clients like you guys on internal as well as external innovation projects. And I'm doing this since 2015. I'm now happy to be here.
Many thanks. So let's get started. Dirk, can you elaborate a little bit about actually the perspective of K+S? So why is it so important for K+S to actually take care and move towards very small entities, very small organizations like Aquapurna? Was it actually roughly a year ago still?
Yeah, probably what is important, because we are talking about the success factors of collaboration. And then you have to know something about K+S. We are, let's say, an old traditional mining company. We have got a history of more than 130 years. And what startups could probably not imagine is that our product is more or less unchanged in this time period. Yeah, so it's more or less the same product what we have mined 130 years before what we sell still today. And so this gives you an idea that we are a traditional company, that we are not used to develop new products or to be quick in developing new products, new services. So this is part of our DNA, because we are doing a big stuff. We're doing more or less just a couple of products, and there are not so much movements in that product range and the services that we are selling. And we know quite well that we have got some changes in the agriculture business, and so we have got new technologies coming on stream. We have got probably new products. We have got developments with ESG topics, that means environmental topics. And we recognize that we don't have the DNA to be quick in developing new services and products. And we made up our mind how we could approach these changes that are foreseen in the future. And then we developed several solutions. What we have done internally, this was the so-called InnoLabs. This has not worked out. And then we developed the idea of the RootCamp so that we can get in contact with innovative new startups that are much quicker in developing new ideas, new products, and to get then the link to them. And this is the reason why we have got a RootCamp, and we have got some really good examples how this is working and can be successful. And this is for us a very important link, because we as a traditional old mining company, moving to the future, we need then of course ideas from the startup so they can benefit from our know-how, from our financial power hopefully, and we can benefit from their strength, being quick, being innovative, what is not in our DNA.
Many thanks. So actually, Dirk, you said that, I need to say it in German, so it shouldn't be like the big corporate should act like an elephant in the Porzellanland, so being an elephant and shattering all the small growth of the startup. So what are the points that you are actually already beware of that shouldn't happen, or what you're telling also your employees and members of your department how startups act?
Yeah, so what is difficult, because we are, let's say, a big organization, we have got a lot of people who want to be involved in decisions, and in many cases the board has to decide if we go one step or not. And so we are not really quick in getting some decisions. So what probably startups are expecting, that we have got a solution and we need to go or no go. And this is taking some time in such an organization. And we have to keep the people aware that we have to be quicker in getting some decisions on that. And also to take some risk, because we are normally, if we're doing an investment or a new step, so you are checking, you're double checking all the time. Is it the right step? How's the economics? And this is taking time. Everybody has to be involved. And this is not working if we go to innovative ideas. So we have to take, on the one hand, the risk that this idea probably is failing. We are not used to do this. So we have to be aware of that. And we have to be quicker in taking some decisions. And this is what I have to transport into the team, not my team, because they are aware of, but to other decision takers, that they are aware that we don't have too much time to spend on such ideas.
Yeah. So we heard that K+ is all about very stable processes. So what do you think, Francisco? How was it for you that we just came up with a new structure on how to interact with startups? We put you together, proposed a rough sketch on how you actually could move towards a new product. So how was that for you, and what have you learned on the journey?
Thank you for the question. This is a good question because it was a pleasure to be involved in this project, because really we are talking about a new application, which is land-based agriculture, and this could be really a huge new potential for us, for our products too. And I think Aquapurna was really, this project was a good example how two different companies can cooperate to achieve the same goal, which is from our side is obviously to participate in this amazing and growing market, giving and providing the minerals which are relevant which are basic in the application. And from the other side, Aquapurna with insights and expertise which are available for this market. And I mean, I think it's which is a win-win situation. We provide our expertise and the minerals we mine, and in terms of quality and how to process the products, or to blend the products to get the right product. And Aquapurna can provide the whole expertise about the application itself.
So, switching perspective, David, how was it for you? You just started Aquapurna back then. I always say to startups, please focus, stay focused. We just heard even for K+S, it's a risk to start new projects. So how was it for you, and what gave you the strength and confidence to move on and really deliver this project or this product at the end?
Well, I guess our biggest fear at the beginning was like the most common fear when we start a collaboration with a huge corporation, and that's the speed and the way startups are quick and large corporations are normally not. But that fear was completely vaporized, so to say, when we met Francisco and Johannes, who were our responsible employees from K+S, because we recognized quite quick that after a few meetings, a few calls, everybody kind of catched fire for this very abstract project. It was not only the startup side who catched fire, but also the corporate side. And when we recognized this, we were quite confident that in the end we will achieve something. We weren't quite sure what it will be in the end, but we were quite confident that there will be some kind of positive result, and that kept us going.
Yeah, so we have set the frame a little bit more. Felix, can you say a little bit more from your perspective as a trained innovator, how the expectations should actually be managed? So there's a saying, you need to throw 1,000 balls and 4 are staying in the air, if you want to train it. So what is to be expected once you go over and start collaborating with very agile small companies, or even for the small companies to get the right match with the larger industrial partners?
Yeah, I think first of all, what you just said is true. Innovation itself is inefficient. You really have to throw a lot of balls in the air in order to succeed in the end. So first of all, we have to accept this fact, and especially as a big corporation, because normally they are not used to do this kind of games, this kind of bets with like this minor chance of succeeding. So we first of all have to accept that, and then we really have to build around this some structures, or even collaborate with guys like you from RootCamp in order to really have a translator between the different really different worlds of a startup, with the speed and the really focus on execution, and then the corporate, that's where the execution is more based around or focused around structures and the governance of the corporation. So first of all, we have to accept that, and then in the end, I think it's we have to be open-minded. It's not just about success; it's also about culture, and because in the end, the teams are the guys that make the innovation happen. So I think it's also about cultural learning in the case.
Yeah. So learning is always easier if you have something happening in the reality. Dirk, it was not only endeavor to start these different projects, but also even to start the RootCamp. So that was also for you actually a learning, a cultural change, to accept that there are some challenges that you can't actually answer on your own in an organization. You need to reach out, you need to allow external innovation. So what were your expectations on these projects? So what needs to happen that you are actually happy? To which point should we drive it within, or could it be driven within the innovation area? And at which point do you say, oh, now we can take it over. Now we have understood that this is not a fail, but this is actually a positive decision that can be made.
Yeah, I think you described it a little bit. So if you can prove that an idea or a concept is working out and it's really there. So let's say coming to a later stage, then you can have more confidence, then you can prove this was the right way, the right decision. Then you have more backing if you want to make then the next steps with the startup. Because if you have got an early stage with an idea, you have got always people having doubts that this is the right way, doubts that this is the right startup, and so on and so on. And the best way is that you can prove that you have succeeded with an idea. And I think we just have, let's say, a short period where we are working on these topics. And I think we have already good examples with Aquapona, of course, where we see, yes, we are able, together with innovative companies, with startups, to get a product on the market and to get a new idea really working. And if we are able to prove that, we gain more confidence in our organization with at people that are not so close to these topics. And this is part of what we have to explain to our people and to our organization. Say, okay, it's taking some time. We have said it to you before. Yes, there are some ideas that are not working, but there are some that are working. Here's the example. Here's the success. And this is what you have, let's say, not each day, but what you have to explain regularly. This is what I learned since October, since I'm responsible for that topic, that you need continuous information, continuous news flow on these topics to get the support from the organization.
David, can you share a little bit your experiences in the interaction? So you, as a team of two, then yes, we have already some touch points with K+, as you're a rentee in their facility, but still it's been reported that it's really difficult to work with a large corporation because, as Felix said, they are looking more into processes and not as on the market. So what did you learn on how you actually need to work with them, how you need to approach them, and what can you expect and what is just not to expect?
Well, you have to differentiate, I guess. The work with our internal champions was always very direct and very close, I would say. We had regular meetings also with our expert employees, and we could discuss every topic, I guess, and everything was being taken serious. And we also met each other in person. They visited us and stuff like that. But it took us quite a while until we learned that those two were also just a little wheel in the K+S corporation, and not coming from a corporate background. I'm used to small teams, and I'm not used to corporations with thousands of employees. I couldn't imagine that somebody who really likes the project isn't actually in charge of deciding what to do in the future. So that was something we learned, that from the beginning on, you really have to ask for and demand for taking responsibility and trust as well in terms of how will the project proceed. Can I really trust our working collaborations? Whom do I talk to in order to know what's the final decision for the next couple of months? So this was something we had to learn, that there's always somebody above and above and above. We don't already know if he exists. So you can't always be sure that something goes in the direction you expect it to go, because you just don't know the internal decision-making process. And that's something I would improve maybe from RootCamp or K+S side, to be completely transparent, because as a startup, you always are looking for conspiracies and whether you're taking any risks or something like that. So really being transparent would have helped us a lot from the beginning on.
Yeah, also, we don't own the special crystal ball that really shows us how the decisions are being made and how everything works in reality. But still, Francisco, it is a hard position. Dirk just said decisions are being made on a very uppermost level. You are directly interacting with David. He convinces you, you like the product. So what did you learn in this project? How can you actually give confidence also back to your startup counterpart?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, following the words what David said or Dirk said, I mean, from one part, I mean, we are two different companies, our operating unit like KNS, which is a huge company, and a startup, and the levels of working or the ways are different. But following what David said regarding the earnings, so for the future, which I fully agree. But I think one mistake we made in the past was that we didn't clarify well the goals for the project. I mean, we created some goals, but maybe not enough, not clearly enough. And this is something that we have to learn for future. Now that we clarify first the goals we have in order to bring to the table the decision makers properly at the right time. And this is I think the main learning we can take from this project, you know, to be more to be faster in the process of taking decisions, for example.
Yeah. Felix, one last question. So Dirk said that he and his department are already the bridge builder, yeah, to the other departments of K+S. They are sort of the counterpart on the side of towards the startups. What would you suggest in actually bridge building? How can organizations prepare themselves to change the culture, to be open for unexpected things, and also to understand how they actually can give the confidence towards the startup in terms of their own decision making?
Yeah, I think first of all it starts with understanding that today's problems are more complicated than the problems of yesterday. I think that's simply one fact why we need external cooperation. And second, I would say, it's really about speed. And if we don't, if we can't make it, picking up that speed, it's about losing or like missing out on opportunities. So I think all the corporations are focused on top line growth, and that's basically cooperating with a startup is an opportunity to grow the top line. And so we have to establish the right structures in order to make it happen. And as Dirk said, or as Francisco said, we have not just one single guy in the corporation that has to give green light for working together with the startup. So we really have to, taking this structure, stripping it down a little bit in order to gain the speed we need.
Yeah, that actually fits perfect to the question of André Drissler from Agravis. Many thanks for that. So to Dirk and Francisco, so which corporate governance elements actually contributed most to the quick decision making?
Difficult, yeah. So you have normally some governance rules within the organization, and they are, let's say, aligned to our business, so and the business needs. And if we cope with startups, this is something what is not in the scope if you make this governance rules, and so this is not necessarily fitting to each other. But I think the point from David is quite fair. We have to be transparent, and it is possible that you have got some rules that you have. Let's say somebody has got some free money where he can decide in that frame where to spend that money. So you can, even if you have got the big governance topic within the organization, you can find rules how to cope then with this special topic. But as I said before, this is not part of the DNA, and it's then of course not reflected in the governance rules. But it is not impossible. Yeah, and you have to explain why you need it, and then you can probably succeed to have some adapted rules, what gives us the possibility to be quicker in decision taking.
Perfect. Many thanks. That was actually the last round already. So that was the take-home message. Many thanks, Dirk, for that. Many thanks to David, Francisco, and Felix. Time's up, unfortunately. So many thanks for sharing your experiences, for sharing the learnings and your perspectives and possibilities. We definitely will work further on that and will report actually on our learnings. So everyone else, stay tuned. Now I'd like to hand over again to Gaia for the last session of pitches. We have wiCow on the sensor and Terry on the robotic side. So have a very quick break, 20 seconds, I guess, so we can bring up the startups ready to join the stage. Again, many thanks to all the participants and for your interest. See you.
So we are live again here from RootCamp, and I'm happily introducing the last two startups that are pitching today from our batch 2. And the two startups are wiCow and Terry, so respectively a sensor and a robotic company. And I will start with wiCow. wiCow is a company, and I see here Tolga. Hi, Tolga. So wiCow is a company based in Hanover, where also RootCamp is based, and they also have an office in Turkey, where Tolga is originally from. And they develop. They're also the only startup in the livestock area that we have in our current batch. And they develop a smart sensor. So it's an innovative health tracking system for cattle. And then Tolga, I see already on the screen, and now I will see your slide. Perfect. So the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tolga Çırak. I am the CTO and the co-founder of the wiCow. wiCow is an artificial intelligence-based self-learning technology for the easy cattle rearing. wiCow is our motto, healthy and happy cows result. So there is a blind part without any technology with the farmers. So farmers need some help from the technology. So Östrus period is really popular in the farming sector in animal health issue, but the other part is really blind. The dry period, prepartum, calving, and also postpartum. -21 and -20 plus 21 is really important for the health issue about the animal rearing. So when you follow your cow in the dry period, you can detect some problem like mastitis before it will be clinical. So you will also get the earn with the next lactation for the dry period. In prepartum and postpartum is really critical for the insemination success rate of the cow. And also calving itself is really important because there is a chance to save the calf and the cow life together. But in the sector, there is too much IoT devices, but this part is really empty. So what about the consequences of this part? There is a 69 billion euro of losses in 2021 globally from the Statistica. So we understand there is a 6% of calf death and 3% of cow death. So we can prevent this problem. If you are calculate about the health consequences depending on the non-following situation, prepartum and postpartum, this amount of money is also huge, and this quantity will be larger than this. So wiCow is also track every part of the tracking requirement, even if the oestrus detection, but the dry period, prepartum and postpartum as well. What is the result of this? We can also reduce the calving interval issue. In average, in 420, for example, in 400, we already proven this in some of our pilot farms. And also calf death ratio going to 1%, then 6%. And also we didn't lose any mother cow that our sensor already used inside. So this is really perfect result for us. And what about the result for the farmers? There is a 190 euro gain per cow per year. So we developed the intravaginal sensor and also unique receiver part and the really user-friendly application. What is the secret behind this? We have developed the sensor with the self-calibrated temperature sensor and very high accuracy accelerator. So we understand everything like an insider of the cow. So we send our data to the cloud, and our artificial intelligence supported software learn the cow itself and the farm itself, and we give too much information to the farmers, only it is required with the notification of our technology. So we finished almost 6,000 calving, additionally 6,000 health tracking issue also. But only the calving is also saved the life. For the calf life is also saved by the wiCow more than 800 times. And also we saved the 200 mother cows also. So as a result, we saved 700,000 euro for our customer with only the 750 units deployed. What is the market situation? There is lots of IoT devices, but I just want to give some specific information about the calving issue and the calving and the estrus detection together. But you can see the dry period, postpartum, and the prepartum area is really empty. So we can also focus on this area, and we give the high accuracy solution for our customer. I'm Tolga Çırak, as I mentioned, and I have experience with Lely. I'm the team leader of the Lely vector system while I was working together with Lely team. And also a really powerful team we have. Onur is one of the members of our team. He already founded another IoT company, and he has really too much experience about this area. So I'm the electronic developer, he is the mechanical part, and also user experience is also important. Mert already proven itself with this area, and also we get the European Product Design Award this year with a gold medal together with Fuat. And also veterinary sector is also important for our issue because we are health tracking issue. So the Professor Dr. Yaşar has many papers about the health issue of the cow. And the marketing part is managed by our co-founder, Selvi, and also a business development part with Safia. We plan to deploy 100,000 units over the next 5 years. So we prevent too much problem in the European area about this kind of issue. And our target, we hope we achieve 6 million annual recursive revenue via system sales, services, renting, and the fees also. So to achieve this target together, this is the first time we are raising money. We required 1.5 million euro to expand our team as a sales agent. Sales agent is really important. We want to touch our customer first. And then we want to agree between the distributor. And also, wiCow has a really big potential to improve itself for the additional species like horses, sheep, especially pork also can be possible to use this sensor. Because the efficiency is much more important than before. We don't have time to lose any animal for the requirement of the feeding. So Selvi and I, co-founder of the wiCow, and get in touch with us. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Tolga. Very nice presentation. Let me see. Yeah, you also have some fans here in the chat, I see. But yeah, let me maybe ask you one question. So, how do you ensure the protection of confidential information for your customers? So you are getting through the sensor a lot of information. How do you keep them safe?
We are also GPDR agreement, so we save unique data for our customer with point-to-point protection. So there is no loss, and they couldn't see each other data, and we didn't ask any question about the software update for them, because they can use the latest software that we already improved with the artificial intelligence. That is the unique property of our system.
Perfect. Many thanks, Tolga. Then I would like to introduce you to the second startup of the session, and the last one, unfortunately, for today. And then I see Marta here on stage. So Marta is one of the co-founder of eTerry, so a robotics company from Germany, and she is the only woman among our co-founder this year. And eTerry recently won the 6th edition of the World FIRA, so as Best Innovative Ag Robotics Startup of 2021. So another winning companies in our batch. And there were more than 1,500 participants from 50 different countries. And yeah, and they won the first prize. And yeah, but let's hear more from Marta what eTerry does.
Yes, thank you very much, Gaia. And hi, everyone. Thanks for still attending the event. Yeah, my name is Martha. I'm one of the 3 co-founders and the CEO at eTerry. And we are a robotics startup from Germany and really aspire to enable a more efficient and intelligent ecological agriculture on a large scale. So I personally grew up on a family-owned farm and had the luxury to always be supplied with super fresh eco food. And increasingly, people are wanting the same thing. So in the last 10 years, the demand for ecological food has increased by 145%. And the further growth of the sector is really a key strategic goal for many governments. So the EU wants to increase ecological farmland by 16% until 2030, and as well decrease the use of pesticides by half. That means that thousands of farms will need to change their farming practices to more sustainable ones. However, ecological farming definitely lacks competitiveness towards conventional farming practices because it is more expensive, it is more time-consuming, and generally also gives lower yields. The biggest downside, though, is that the processes in ecological agriculture are to a large extent done by manual labor. And yeah, for example, one of our partner farms is a very typical ecological farm growing all kinds of foods. And their vegetable grower, Kerstin, she states that her most intense workload is the removal of weeds. And she states that that she is spending roughly 200 hours per hectare with manual weeding. And for many care-intensive crops, it can be even 3 times as much. And if you actually don't remove the weeds fast and accurate enough, it's possible that the yield has to be given up because it's just not worth the work anymore. Yeah, and this high workload is due to the fact that there is no machinery that is prepared to do the job. And yeah, this is actually just the beginning because growing food is very hard work and consists of so many processes like monitoring, planting, pest control, and so on. And these essential tasks require very versatile equipment over the whole year. And this is exactly where eTerry comes into play, because we are developing an autonomous and multifunctional field robot that is built to automate ecological agriculture on a large scale. And actually, my presentation just stopped running. Probably the video is just too pretty to be shown. let's try again. Yeah. So yeah, the Iteri really gives time back to the farmer and makes their daily work easier and more efficient. So the lightweight design really enables an effortless transport, space-saving storage, and the farmer can get the robot ready independently in just a few steps. The Iteri also runs 100% electric and can already be used in existing field structures in addition to the tractor. And as you will see, the Iteri can also deal with very challenging terrain like mud and slopes. And yeah, it is really flexible because it can be used in different plot sizes and growth stages of the crop due to its unique 3 wheels. Yet most importantly, the Iteri is designed as an equipment carrier, meaning that we integrate existing tools and sensors to automate the essential tasks on the field. So yeah, all in all, the Iteri is a reliable and robust companion for the farmer that easily integrates also into current farming processes. Yeah, so let me see. Yeah. In the video, you've actually seen the equipment carrier without any application yet, and that is because in the last year we joined forces with many different development partners to build a field robot that can move safely in very harsh environments. So Maxon Motors and Enesys are strategic partners supplying high-tech hardware, and they actually also provided the components for the Mars rover, which is definitely beneficial on the field. And on the software side, we are cooperating with Jülich in research and Lakos as industry partner to develop algorithms that build the foundation for the crop phenotyping. Yeah, the next step is to start off with the integration of the technologies from our application partners. So here we are working together with startups like Hype and Fentech, but also with established companies to be able to give the most value to the farmer. So recently we won Treffler as an application partner who is a leading global manufacturer of ecological ag technology. Yeah, and then having the first application ready, the Iteri will initially be offered as a weeding service robot for lettuce and spinach, which will happen through qualified agricultural service providers. Yeah, the market for agricultural robotics is still quite young and unsaturated and has an annual growth rate of 35%. Our initial target market is the vegetable cultivation. So here our serviceable available market is geographically narrowed down to the EU and to the US and represents a 2-year market potential of 38 billion euro. Yeah, the team behind Iteri is very impact driven. It has a strong link to agriculture. So I'm coming from a farm as well, so does our CTO, Michael. He also filed the patent for the Iteri during his studies as an industrial product designer. And yeah, my co-founder Fabian, as COO, he gained loads of experience in the automotive sector. And we are supported by experienced advisors and investors with a very strong sustainability and tech focus. And the vision we are working towards is to reshape agriculture sustainably with the use of the Iteri. So we intend to build up a technological ecosystem that can operate diverse and productive fields that, on the one hand, produce larger yields on a smaller area, and on the other hand, are beneficial for the carbon in the soil and for the climate at the same time. Yes, and to make this vision reality, we have taken quite a few steps already. So last year, for example, we successfully sold our prototype to Bayer Crop Science and are now building our 4th and improved generation of development, which we will definitely release this year, and you can have a look at it. And with the capital from our seed investment round, we now want to develop a tool for the weed removal. And during these 18 months of development, we will build a fleet of Iteris that then will be used as service robots from May 2024 onwards. Yeah, and moving on, we are going to quickly integrate more crops and applications with cooperation partners. Yes, and to reach these milestones, we have a total equity capital requirement of 1.2 million euro. We are currently raising our seed investment. And in order to complete our cap table, we are looking for the remaining 300,000 especially with a background and with investors having a background in hard and software. Yeah, and besides investors, we are also very keen to get in touch with further development partners or companies who want to add on to the ITERI platform with their technologies. So please feel free to get in touch, and yeah, thanks for being here today.
Perfect. Thank you, Marta, for the presentation. You also have some fans in the chat from Evgeny Savin, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Maybe one question. So you choose to offer the ITERI as a service robot, and how do you think this will benefit the farmer? So if you can summarize that again.
Yeah, for sure. So we definitely see the service model as more beneficial than just offering the ITERI as a product, because the initial investment cost is so much lower, and the barrier to really get to know the ITERI service is much lower. So farmers can just try it out, book it on the website, and see if it works for them before really making such a high commitment or big commitment to have such a high investment into an agricultural machine.
Perfect. Many thanks, Marta. This was a very nice closing for our startup pitches session here on the stage. And I would like to remind everyone that if you want to meet Marta, Tolga, and all the other founders, as well as Philipp for RootCamp, now after the main session here in the main stage, sessions will open. So you need to look on the left-hand side of your screen, click on session, and then you will see all the virtual booths of the different startups, and then you will be able to jump from one to the other. And on screen, you will be the founder, and you will be able to communicate with the founder or founders on screen through the chat, or you can ask to join the stage. You will see a blue button on top, and you will be able to ask whatever you want, something that was not clear from the presentation. You can ask for a demo of their products, or whatever you still would like to know. But yes, so as I said, this was the end of the pitches. This is also the end here in the main stage. But before we close, I invite Philipp to join me here on stage. It was a pleasure having all of you here. We hope so. This is not the end of the event; it's just the event here on the main stage. So we hope to meet you in the sessions, and we hope you enjoyed the event.
And we want to thank first of all the experts that made this program possible. All the mentors from our partners, they put a great effort in understanding the startups, sharing their view, figuring out what is actually the right point of interaction, and sure, all our supporters as well. The startups, it was really a pleasure to have you in the batch. You showed great adherence even till the end, even although you have so much extra work. We had 3-time winners from the EIC acceleration grant. That is, I mean, I can understand when somebody just moves a little bit higher to get this 2.5 million or 1.75 million grant ready. Still, you are showing great adherence. One mention to the end, we experienced some difficulties in clearness actually of the window of the stream. That is your browser. So please turn off the auto option. So the browser acts according to the bandwidth. So thanks Jana from Hopin to giving us this quick fix. And last but not least, I would like to thank the team. Many thanks, Gaia. I don't know how many emails that were, how many interaction points you had to make this this whole program possible, starting from 300 startups, selecting them, having 25 video calls, handling maybe even more different evaluators that evaluated the startups, going over 6 hard focus weeks, 12 weeks overall. So that was a great bunch of work. So that was Gaia. And sure, also the team, Ilka was maintaining the chat, taking care of all the panelists. Wiebke was handling 2 chats on the and all the panelists. Thanks Caspar from stepping by, and thanks to all the participants. We had fun.
Yeah, thank to Philipp as well, obviously, for all the coaching with the startups, for the panels today, and I think it was a great second problem. We're looking forward to the third one. So the application deadline is next week, so we are never stopping. And obviously, a big thank you to all the partners that were mentioned before, and everyone that joined here. We got often this question, so the recording and all the pitches and information of the startup will be shared with you. So I would say it was a great journey. Always a bit sad
it was a pleasure
that the program ends, but so as I mentioned, this is not the end of the event. It's just the end here on the main stage where we all gather together, and you can move to the different session, including ours, but drop off and talk with the founders.
So many thanks. I stay here, but I'm in the session. So main stage is closed now.
Thank you very much.
Wiebke is waving. So